So I'm just going to start off with asking the panel to each give us their different definition of premium programmatic and how they see it at the moment.
I think it's still quite early stages, premium programmatic and private marketplaces and so on. I think that if you're a publisher or if you're involved in inventory, we need to make sure we value our inventory at the right prices. There's a lot of talk about how programmatic can drive prices down, but I think there's a massive opportunity to value your inventory in the right way and to keep the prices very high, and I'm sure that's one of the things we'll talk about today.
So I see programmatic as programmatic, and premium programmatic is the opportunity that publishers have to really get a house in order and start taking some real value out of the market.
So premium for VivaKi, for A&D, what we do, there's no one consistent definition for all clients. Every client values every piece of inventory differently. Auto Trader are not going to value the cooking website on Guardian or the recipe websites on BBC. They're going to value Auto Trader and verticals that are specific to them. Waitrose will have verticals specific to them that they're kind of valuing more than anything else. So premium is a word that everyone's trying to apply consistently across all inventory, and the only area that does actually consistently apply to is sometimes around the formats, and that's where we're seeing some misconception and also widescale adoption by a lot of clients, in that they're pushing now for more expansive formats within real-time bidding, more larger formats, and I'm not talking the monster formats, the 300 by 600s, talking more around the 920s by 1020s, the half-page takeovers, the skins, the gutters. Like, we're seeing those bubbling through basically into the exchanges now.
What I'd like to ask you next is, from this surge in technology and from such a competitive marketplace, what do you think the major benefits are to the industry?
What we've seen the major benefits from this technology come about is basically the streamlining of execution buying. We can get $2 to $3 million campaigns in the US live in 2 days. In the UK, we've done similar spends and similar activations. Historically, you think about what this would have taken to do. You've had to traffic how many different ad tags for how many different ad networks, sign IOs, fax them back, do your dazzles, media genies, make sure DES is up to date, and then execute your buy, which could take up to 2 to 3 weeks. We're getting campaigns live in 2 days, all with the same target and all with the same methodology. So for me, the technology is, one, giving us exceptional speed to execution, and number two, the ability to control, the ability to see everything and be transparent, know what you're paying, reduce your wastage, increase your efficiencies on your campaigns. And the initial steps into this was around direct response, and as I say, now we're seeing more branding come into it, because we're actually finding the audiences much more accurately than they were on a kind of blind network CPM basis.
Is this the shift away from just being the biggest audience, the biggest sales team, to being a marketplace in which you can compete by driving efficiency, by wrapping up an audience that attracts the buyers that are out there?
Yeah, so I just want to clarify, until Friday I was a publisher for 6 years before I moved to Switch yesterday, so I can talk from a publisher point of view. In terms of where we're seeing the opportunities and efficiencies, not only, like you said, the ability to get campaigns on very quickly, the lack of factors and IOs, and I thank God those things have gone, because they were just absolute headache. And what it's really allowed us to do is we're starting to look at how can we retrain our operation to be a lot more forward thinking, and work with the trading desks and get real insight. There's all of this value coming through, the understanding of bidding patterns, and you can see who's bidding on inventory and what value other people are putting in there. Is that are you pricing too high, are you pricing too low? Where is the demand? Are there additional conversations to be had? And it's the insight that's coming through, which is the most interesting thing for publishers, and how they can shape the landscape going forward.
Andy, what do you think the insight is leading publishers to improve? Can publishers kind of see where they're falling down at the moment easily and improve on that to deliver better wrapped up inventory? What are the steps they can take to improve what they're doing?
I think you're going to get a lot of data, and you're going to get a lot of learning from your inventory and what's going on. As Rob said, you can learn about people that want to buy your inventory that you haven't thought of before, that you can make new relationships through it, and maybe open up those relationships into bigger and more embedded advertising solutions and so on. I just want to add to some of the things Rob said as well, in that Net Communities, we're a publisher, we represent publishers like Mashable, NextWeb, VentureBeat, Business Insider and so on. And what we think is really interesting is if you have a niche audience, if you have something, so we have some sites in the public sector, it's a very difficult market to reach, and those people are living and breathing by the inventory they have on their own websites at the moment. Now the data you can start to collect and how you can understand that data, the value of that data, both on-site and off-site. And there's a massive revenue opportunity for publishers who have niche audiences off-site and on-site. So this is something new which people need to embrace and get involved in. I think it's early days, and I think that there could be some really interesting winners as a result of that.
Okay, so obviously in terms of the key wins for publishers, they at the end of the day they're looking to satisfy their clients and expand on that.
The best advice that I think we've ever given to every publisher that we've ever worked with within AOD is to solidly think about this space. Like, don't see it as something that you can switch on and never pay attention to and hope that revenue drives through it. You need to have a team behind it, and that doesn't need to be a big team, but you need to dedicate someone to it. I've had too many conversations with a lot of big publishers whose names I won't mention, who just see this as something that they can switch on and money will start flying through it. And you've got to pay attention to this. This is like a direct campaign, but it's done with technology. And if you don't pay attention to it, it can very quickly not look like it's going to do anything. There's a few big publishers in the UK right now whose whole sales team is now sat on a programmatic stack. So even their direct campaigns are running on RTB technology now, because they want to have a consolidated approach to how they're selling and how they're activating their campaigns. That's what I'd advise all publishers to do. Like, if you want to get a relationship with a sell-side platform, someone like VivaKi or Nexus, jump on board with them, but make sure that the people that are jumping on board with them are just as skilled up in running that platform as the buyers are. You just can't switch it on and expect it to happen. Too many times I've set up a private marketplace, or we've set up an inventory supply, and the person's had one call with me and then I've never heard of them again for the next 6 months. More often than not, that's the private marketplace or a line of inventory that sees the lowest amount of spend, because as soon as it's one line and we start to optimize within it, if we can't do anything else for that one line, pretty much handcuffs us in terms of what we can spend on. If it's not working and we can't get hold of anyone, at the end of the day we can't continue to spend.
So if I just add on to that?
Yeah.
That's one thing that we're very aware of the future is we have sort of 80 websites, and a lot of these websites are very different in shape, size, logos in different positions. Now, obviously that doesn't allow great scale, so I come and talk to Danny and say, I can give you all my MPUs, but they're all in a different place, I don't know where they are, or we're going to do a takeover, but can you give me 80 creatives? That causes a headache. One of the things you can really look at is how can you change your site and move your site to allow programmatic buying to be a lot easier and allow yourself to get seen, high mileage trading lists.
And Andy, what are the essential 2 or 3 things that smaller publishers can do to join in and collaborate, together to get that kind of situation where you've got scaled quality inventory with people behind it paying attention?
Well, as I said, there's investment in time and effort to deliver and to work effectively in the market. That's an investment. The technology is an investment. I think, as Danny would say as well, is it's not just about switching on a DMP or putting your stuff on RTB. It's about how you package things up, how you streamline it, how you're absolutely transparent about the data and the information that you share, but with some modesty and in terms of the value of the data that you're sharing. One of the issues is a frustration lays above and below the fold. Not enough publishers identify very simply whether an ad is above or below a fold. So I think viewability is a big issue in the RTB market, because a lot of the inventory that is actually happening on the RTB market is inventory which is potentially left over, and that leftover inventory is stuff that publishers aren't selling directly, and in a lot of cases that can be below the fold.
Okay, so in terms of the major free technologies that are out there to adopt, straight off the bat? What can publishers do to show advertisers the quality?
That's a really good introduction to Powerlinks, isn't it? That's fantastic. Powerlinks I think is a really good example, as are many of the in-text advertising solutions, because the ads are only implemented or only come live when you hover over them and so on, so then you can see those kind of adverts. One of the others is my solution, which is a company called OnScroll. So we actually detect whether an ad is in view and then only load the ad when it's in view, so therefore solving the viewability issue. And that's an important issue, because it's not just about making sure ads below the fold load when in view, but it means that you can put more ads on your page you may not have done before, and ironically the ads at the bottom of the page actually score higher in terms of engagement, click-through rates and performance than the ones at the top of the page. So I think there's some interesting things to evolve in the market. There are other suppliers that do similar things.
So, Danny, what are the major demand demand clients looking for in terms of what sellers are making available to them? In viewability, rich media. What are the key things that private marketplaces could bring to the table?
This is a good question, and it gets asked a lot in every meeting I have, and it changes periodically depending on what the topic of conversation is in the industry at the time. So initially, when real-time bidding trading started to happen, it was a conception that most of the ad exchanges contained only remnant inventory, and then there was a push towards getting more premium inventory bidding exchanges. That's to say that happened in probably late 2011, early 2012. Then it moved on to private marketplaces. 2012 was kind of the launch of that, widespread adoption by a lot of trading desks. That's kind of fully formed now. For AOD at least, in VivaKi, we make great use of them. Then it was a push towards making use of the publisher's first-party data within a private marketplace. So not taking the cookies, but using their data to make a specific criteria recommendation in the marketplace to say, this private marketplace will only contain users who have searched on the iPhone 5 within the past 24 hours in the mobile section of eBay. And then with the private marketplaces built around that, that's now widescale adopted. What we're seeing clients push for even further now is this creativity element, this rich media, this expandable formats, these large formats. And that seems to be where we are at the moment. There's a lot of push towards getting that kind of inventory for a lot of our clients. And then just down the road, it's already on everyone's radar, is this topic of viewability and how we start to make use of that. And we've got like different technologies that we use to do that, and some of it's built with the platform when it's integrated, which means we can bid on viewable impressions depending on how in view they are on the pages, and a lot of clients are looking for that at the moment. So as I say, it's not one thing that just exists all the way through. We go through these stages of wanting different things, and clients needing their answers to it, and us having to change our buying strategies, change our technology in some cases, and open up new sources of inventory.
So as we move into a position of as you mentioned, kind of consolidation, some manual optimization rather than kind of setting up and deserting it. As we move into that kind of maturity where publishers and buyers are both working to optimize, the whole process, there's obviously more commitments, more time spent on your programmatic trading. From your point of view, Rob, what is it that sellers want to see out of this equation, to be able to fully commit to it?
I don't know, there's lots of opportunity within these. I've always been a bit sceptical over the private marketplace, because the one thing that seemed to be lacking was the guaranteed spend. So you need to price very high if you're being cherry picked. But obviously, the key is obviously to work with the buyer to find out what they want and how you can deliver. I mean, sort of slightly off the subject there, we spent a lot of time with our first-party data. And, SSPs, VSPs is fantastic from our perspective, because one thing it allowed us to do is we could sell our first-party data, and Future was the first UK publisher to do that. Secondly, we were able to then trade and buy all this extension, so we could actually work in that market ourselves. And then finally, probably the most beneficial what sort of cases we had is where we joined forces. We obviously know who our key advertisers are, and we could bring in both sets of data and then work within our own, create a private marketplace for that, and then trade using both sets of data, so you can be on and off site. And we start to see some real value from that.
Is it the major win that that small publishers have been waiting for to be able to compete?
I think it's going to be quite difficult for small and medium-sized publishers to get in at that level at this time, unless you want to disagree or give some other views on it, because again, as I said earlier, there's a cost to entry, not only in terms of technology but also in terms of time and effort and manpower you need to put behind it. So I think, depending on where you are in the market, you should potentially look at partnering up or safety in numbers and working with people. I think that will become, as technology evolves and as platforms switch and so on evolve, and OpenX, Farzan. Thank you. As these platforms evolve, then I think there will be easier ways of making that a benefit to small and medium-sized publishers. But I do think it's still a bit early at the moment. Danny, what do you say?
Yeah, just jump on. I agree with Andy somewhat. I just think it's dependent upon the buyer to show willingness to work with the publishers. Many agencies approach how they work with publishers differently. Many trading desks approach publishers very differently. I think if you both come into the equation with a view that this is simple to do, simple to set up, then it probably won't work completely as you want it to. If you both go into it and actually say, look, we want to do this, we want to do it properly. For example, we've got a medical client that we represent from one of our agencies, and they're looking for advertisements around medical inventory. It's really difficult to do. It's impossible in some senses. There's laws against it in some countries. There's small publishers that exist on the internet that aren't in the exchanges and that aren't, potentially getting the large spends that some other big publishers like eBay or Microsoft might do. But for me, they're incredibly valuable. That's a small publisher that I just need to have a conversation with and ensure that they're up to date on how we can work together. That's someone that we plugged in, a small medical publisher who has really niche audience. Maybe not huge amounts of volume, but it's incredibly tight for what I'm trying to buy. So we will, work with these small publishers and get them live on our campaigns. We've seen smaller publishers see bigger revenue than some of the bigger ones within AOD. I think that's a positive picture, but you have to work on it. You have to collaborate. If it's one conversation and nothing down the line, it's not going to work.
Are you using the content and the audience that you're gathering from those kind of relationships, both on their site and off-site? So you're actually helping to just on their site. And what's your views in terms of that audience off-site as well?
It's not something I really want to get into. Not in terms of conversation, but that's up to the publishers if they want to do it.
Yeah.
I think taking a publisher's goal and using it somewhere else, I think it's quite hard to happen.
Right.
And there is people who do it.
Yeah.
We don't.
But if you did it honestly and there was an above-board way of doing it,
if it was honest, if it was open, if there was at least some sort of security around the fact that you guys are happy for it to be done, yeah. But I've always gone into every publisher meeting saying, we don't want to take it, we want to use it on your site.
I think it's a very fair point, an important point as well, because there have been a number of other suppliers in the market early days who have taken advantage of publishers' data. I think that's got to change, and the market's got to evolve. I think there needs to be some trust and some privacy solutions going forward, so that people can take more advantage of their premium audiences. But again, it's early days.
Equally, one of the benefits of this space is, if that is happening, turn it off.
Yeah, so I was going to say just very quickly, no, it's all right, yeah. My future hat's on there, definitely. Deals with Danny, he doesn't want to come take my goal, but we certainly want to find goal together, and I think that's what we were really looking for. And then obviously, if I put my Switch hat back on, we've also OpenX and do that. So we're publish-focused technologies, and we're understanding, but the smaller and medium-sized may not be able to. You're not going to go and get a seat on a trading desk unless you're exceptionally wealthy. They're very expensive. But by joining these technologies, there's lots of opportunity there. I mean, we're still early days, and we're still trying to find out exactly how we can best manage data from publishers and their inventory, and give them the insight back that they need so they can grow together. So, that there is. It's taking its time, and there will be options shortly.
So you talked about trying to find a goal together and working together in a collaborative relationship. I think to date we've all seen that in this space we've satisfied direct response as the major group of advertisers that have benefited. and just as smaller publishers can begin to benefit, how did the brand advertisers come into play?
Sorry to drop this, but we were at ATS yesterday, which is another conference run by ExchangeWire, and we had O2 on stage with VivaKi, on behalf of AD, someone who really pushes the boundaries for AD. Like, it's not a comfortable client to work on. If anyone's here from that company, please do keep pushing us, because it only benefits the industry and what we're doing. But anyway, they are an incredibly innovative client. Like, they're pushing us every day to break some of the technology that we have and make it work the way that they want it to work. And that's because they are now pushing the boundaries on not just being in direct response, but trying to execute brand campaigns in this space. And they're doing it with success and with failures at the same time. Dan Nicholson from O2 was on stage yesterday saying, we've had failures, but we've learned from it. They're doing brand blasts, which is one-day takeovers of as much of the internet as possible with their own soft metrics or whatever they want to measure it on. But they can only do that if the inventory's there. They can only do that if it meets their specific needs in terms of formats, creativity, content, and audience. But that is becoming a reality. They're pushing for it. There's other clients pushing for it, and it's a matter of finding the publishers willing to work in that way. For us, at least, anyway. But that's what I see. Brand is coming through, and 40% of what we do is brand at the moment, and that's increased dramatically in 2013.
Okay, so there's probably two things to address there. One, Andy, would be it's a different kind of view, a different kind of data that brands might need to be able to both inform the creative and also to access that audience, not just based on cookies and so on, but based on a real understanding. What's out there at the moment to really carve up your data and to be able to present your inventory to brands in an attractive way?
I think what's out there is an land grab for a lot of businesses who are trading in this market, is that it is not good enough just to put your inventory on the market and to use simple audience targeting, data targeting and so on. You've got to start connecting more of the pieces together. You've got to start thinking about the social media, time of day, what they're looking at, why they're looking at it, maybe the context of what's being said. Where are they in the buy funnel? Are they in market to buy, depending on what they're looking at? So I think there are a lot of open source data sets or paid for data sets, lots of other things that can bring a premium. And I think that there are other opportunities for publishers and also for players in the market to come and append that. And we have our own approach to it. We're building our own stuff, and we're trying to take our own approach to it. And we'll be working with trading desks and agencies and private marketplaces and so on to build it in a way that works for them and works for us. But I think there's a market of innovation out there. I don't think that necessarily answers the question, but I think it is very open-ended.
Yeah, it's certainly gives perspective that we're looking at a different kind of data. We're looking at not where a user has been, but more about who the user is and what it is that's going to attract them to certain brands, why it makes them a qualified audience. Rob, in terms of really combining different layers of data, how can we do that in a standardised and efficient manner? What tools are at the hands of publishers and their trading partners to put it together?
So yeah, we just went through a big process of choosing a DMP, which was crucial for us to really understand what data we had and how we could leverage the value of that. Again, I'm not sure how the DMP sits in for smaller publishers, but it's, again, like I said before, it's something that like say Switch and OpenX are going to be looking at and giving that insight back and how you can extract value from that. Like I say, what I've always said, that the first party data, the most useful person it is useful to is the publisher, and then like I said, there's a great opportunity to buy around that or work with your top 5 and top 10 advertisers, because you can then develop your website to cater for what where your premium spend is going to come, and that's what Premium Pragmatic's all about.
In terms of the formats that come into play, there's the data layer that is key to programmatic, kind of really adding value for brand and PR. But for the formats, brands have a very different requirement. What's going to dictate the the availability of formats, and what is the demand out there for Danny?
As I say, we've got quite a lot of brand spend that we execute quite a lot of, and we're looking for those bigger formats, and the difficulty comes down to, I know my technology, the platform that we use to execute our buys, I know it can accept absolutely any format. It can do it. Like, we've done it, we've got it in there. The issue for me is finding a publisher that I can plug it into. Finding a publisher that's willing to work, that's going to do it, and it's a hard slog. It really is. To speak to publishers and bring them up and say, look, I'd like to buy this huge format on your website, and they're like, oh, okay, well, we don't know how to do that, or we're just getting into this space. And I've got a client who wants it to go live next month. It's a push it's an ask from us to the publishers to kind of want to do this, and if they don't, then we can't spend that money with a publisher. Equally, that we're not talking about driving down the CPMs on this brand stuff. Like, we regularly pay double-digit CPMs, sometimes past the 20, which I think that's good. I think that's good levels of CPMs for brand. We're not trying to do this. There's other people trying to. Don't tar every trading desk with the same kind of colour paint at the end of the day. Okay,
great. So I think we're running out of time. So just to kind of summarise here, the future cast and the way you think the industry is going, Andy, maybe you could summarise what we're expecting to see over the next 2 years in terms of the big progressive moves by technologists and creators.
I just think what I would say is don't put your head in the sand. And, obviously it's great that people are here today and listening to what's going on, what the opportunities are. There are opportunities here. I think it's how you embrace them and how you deal with them. But at the same time, value your inventory and get an even balance. I think look at potentially partnering with people because there is a lot of technology out there. This is a very complicated market at the moment. If anybody's looked at the Lumerscape, they'll know how complicated it is. You can make a lot of mistakes and waste a lot of time and money, but at the same time, if you get it right, you can also benefit very well out of it, and I think we're already seeing the benefit of that as are the other guys on the panel here, and I think it's a great opportunity and one that is only going to grow exceptionally rapidly, so if you do put your head in the sand, you're going to miss out.
I'll say it's over the next few years, I think hopefully we'll see that Lumerscape sort of amalgamate to a few smaller, larger companies and smaller volumes of them. I've said before, I think publishers are in a great space. I think there's a great opportunity for publishers. Just look at the technologies out there. I'm hoping that the switches and indexes will really bring something quite exciting to the market to help leverage that value for publishers.
There will be fewer choices and more robust choices to make in terms of your technology. And then on the flip side, the onus is a lot on the buy side. I think the market has done incredibly well on the buy side in streamlining the efficiencies in execution, so in buying. We have yet to see that come to planning. And it's only now that I think most of the agencies are realising they do need to start thinking about setting up programmatic planning teams, so teams dedicated towards basically planning audiences across wide, vast arrays of inventory, and I think that will come at some point as well.